Hello and welcome to my video about my garden of my new build home. And what I'm going to talk about here in this video is basically show you what I've got. I'm going to talk about what I want and what I don't want in my garden, and then we'll go through the planning phase and share my plans with you. And obviously if anyone's got any feedback, I would be really grateful for that. Thank you so much for the feedback I had in my previous video about the house tour. No, I'm not going to get radiator covers anymore because a lot of you said don't get radiator covers. So thank you for your feedback. Let's crack on with this video and first of all tell you about what I've got in this garden, and you can pretty much see it. Near the house we've got a patio, small patio area. I've got a place over here which is supposed to be for the bins, but I've got my motorbike there because the shed that's been supplied by the builders, so yeah, I did get a shed with the house, is too small for the motorbike. And then on this side I've got my wheelie bins close to the house, and then the rest of the garden, as you can see, is laid to lawn. It's the total size of the garden is 5.4 meters that way, and it's about 10.5 meters that way. And of course the all-important factor is what is the aspect, and that the end of the garden there is facing east. So as we track the sun, it's going to sort of rise over here. At the moment we're in middle of February, so sort of rising over there, and we're not getting much sun at all in the day. But come the summer, the sun's sort of going to rise over here, and this half of the garden is the one that's going to get all the sun. So that's what we've got here. And now let's talk about what I want from the garden. This is not the first garden I'm building. When I moved into a new build 30 years ago, I had virgin ground. I had a bigger plot, and I found some pictures of my garden, and this is what it looked like. So I took this virgin plot and I designed it basically around the turning circle of the motorbike to get it in the shed, and built the path, I built the raised beds, built everything on my own, and that gives you an idea of the sort of informality that I enjoy. Very much inspired by Jeff Hamilton's cottage gardens. What I want from this garden, well, I can tell you what I don't want. What I don't want is this. I don't want the lawn. It's monocultural, it's high maintenance, and I just don't want it. Life is too short to cut the grass. It's the one thing that I really didn't enjoy about my house in the Outer Hebrides, was cutting that grass every week. I do not want a lawn. I don't have children playing in the garden. I don't need it. What I do have is dogs. So what I do need, if I don't have a lawn, is a dog toilet. So that's what I need if I'm not going to have a lawn. Another thing I want is a greenhouse, not just for bringing on plants, growing plants from seeds, but also somewhere to sit on a cold or windy but sunny day, somewhere to sort of warm the cockles of your heart on a cold but sunny autumn or spring day, or even in the winter. So I do want a small greenhouse. I want the facility to compost because, I mean, I've started actually here. I've got a small fruit crate. My friend gave me some fruit crates, so I've got a fruit crate where I'm already starting off the compost. But I want the ability to compost on a bigger scale because I want to try and be, not make me self-sufficient, but I want to make the most of my kitchen scraps and of my garden waste. So I want to be able to compost. I want raised beds because I don't want the dogs weeing or toileting on my plants. So if I have raised beds, it's a barrier to the dogs getting on the garden. So I do want raised beds. I want to be able to grow vegetables, mostly stuff that there's going to be high yield, so things like salads and stuff, but also want to grow some flowers as well, and those flowers have got to be fragrant. Everything's got to work for its living. So if it's not edible, it's got to be beautiful and fragrant, because I do love fragrance in the garden. So we're talking old-fashioned sweet peas, shrubs, things like the Eleagnus, so you get some fragrance in the winter. One thing I need to do, of course, is also store the wheelie bins. I don't want them near to the house. I don't want the smell near the house, but they've got to be easily accessible. And of course, they've got to get the rubbish in from the house, but also they've got to be accessible to get out when it's bin collection day. So of course, I need somewhere to store the wheelie bins as well. So what I want for this garden, I've been watching some YouTube videos and been inspired by a few YouTubers. Some of them I get a bit frustrated that they don't really understand just how compact a suburban garden is, and when they talk about small gardens, it's still 4 times the size of this plot. But one YouTuber who does get it is Alessandro, Spicy Moustache, and his plot of his London house is about the same as this, so I'm very much inspired by Alessandro, but even he's got an allotment on top of his garden. What we need to be mindful of is tracking the sun, you know, coming up over here and going that way, so all the sun being on this side of the garden really. And as you can already tell, the developers here have put the shed in the premium spot for growing. That is the sunniest spot, and that's where the shed is. I know why they've done it. It's easy access to the gate at the side of the house, but obviously that shed has either got to go or it's got to be moved. Now, I'm an analog pencil and paper kind of a guy. I don't have fancy design software, and I'm not trying to flog you fancy design software, you know, which YouTuber I'm looking at there. But so I've had a little play, but I think there's nothing just like being in the space, and I spent a lot of time here just literally wandering around the garden with the dogs, getting used to it, getting used to the gradients as well, and getting used to how I feel about the space. And not only is the shed got to go there, I think that means that then the greenhouse is going to go where the shed is now. Now, I know a lot of you are probably screaming at your screen saying, oh no, that's going to be too sunny. But because this is such a small plot and I want to grow vegetables and fragrant flowers, I need to grow up. So there's going to be like a screen in front of the greenhouse, I think, maybe a trellis to grow up beans and sweet peas, but that's sort of roughly in the future. That corner over there is the corner that's going to get the least sun, because that is in that corner there, if any sun at all. I don't think it's hardly going to get any sun. So that is obviously where the dog toilet is going to go, because I don't want to grow anything there. So that's where the dog toilet will go. I think I'll move the shed across to this side of the garden, because again, this is the north facing bit and not much is going to grow there. So I think we're going to have the shed here, and then that means that I can put the wheelie bins and the compost bin behind the shed and keep those out of sight, which then means raised beds over here where you're going to get most of the sun and the light. So that's roughly the plans I've got. But the majority is, the main thing is, you know, I've got to grow up so that I can get the maximum yield from my garden. And I think what would be nice too is that if I've got the shed here, and I'm going to, the greenhouse here, and I'm going to have the shed here, I think here it'll be nice to have an archway to grow maybe a rose over, but probably something a bit harder working like fragrant sweet peas or beans and stuff. And then I've got these lovely fruit crates I'm going to line and grow plants in, and just lots of pots to move around. And I think the motorbike will either stay there or it will go in a bigger shed. So as for the pathways, I'm not going to use the grass. I'm going to put down cardboard, and I'm just going to have bark chips. I was just going to do that, but then I was watching Hugh Richards, who was talking about composting paths, and I thought that was an excellent idea. So you can put down your compost, your raw materials on the cardboard, and then the wood chips on top of that, and actually have the composting done underfoot, and then at the end of the season you just shovel it onto the beds. And I think that's a brilliant idea. So that's the plans. I'm going to go inside now because it's getting a bit chilly, and the builders have started building again, so we've got quite a bit of noise. So I'm going to go in, and we'll finish off this video indoors. Right, that's better. We're in the warm now. What about the time scale on this? Well, on top of a full-time job, 4 hours commuting, sorry, we're boring you, Ted, and a partner in Belgium, and I want to get some caravanning in, I don't know how much time I'm going to have to get everything done this year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sort of from the back and work my way forwards. So at least we get maybe 1 or 2 raised beds in, we'll get the doggy toilet in. I'm still not 100% convinced about the shed and the greenhouse, Maybe I'll go for a bigger shed, one that I can actually get the motorbike in, or leave it as it is. And if that's the case, will I be able to get the bike round to the shed? So still a few things to consider. So we're going to start from the back forwards, and I hope to at least get a couple of raised beds in by the time the growing season starts in the spring. So I hope you enjoyed that video, folks. As ever, if you've got any feedback, anything burning that you think, oh yes, don't do that, or please do that, are we really boring you, Ted? Then please let me know in the comments below. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, you know what to do. Please give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you don't already. And it just leaves me to say, from Dougal, who's snoring, from Ted, and from me, thanks for tuning in. There, what do you reckon, boys? Are you excited about the garden? Are you excited about the garden? Are you excited? Are you excited? Ted, camera's that way. Camera's that way. Camera's that way. They never smile. Boys, you could be a bit more excited about the garden. You're going to have your own facility area. Especially for dogs, yes? No?